China and Vietnam, the nations interwoven with an intricate tapestry of shared history, have weathered periods of tranquility and turmoil that have sculpted their relationship with rich complexity. The strands of their intertwined economies form a strong fabric that binds them, yet there exist knots of discord that demand delicate untangling. The present dynamics and future trajectory of these two countries serve as a pivotal axis in the Southeast Asian landscape today. Nevertheless, this vast geopolitical terrain remains largely uncharted in the consciousness of many. The forthcoming narrative of China and Vietnam raises intriguing questions, prompting us to wonder, what does their collective horizon hold? To shed light on this intriguing query, let's first embark on a brief journey through their shared historical chronicles. The relationship between China and Vietnam is a compelling narrative that flows through the tides of conflict and cooperation, alliance and enmity. These adjacent nations have witnessed an extensive interplay over the centuries, painting their interactions with varying shades of diplomacy and dispute. The Chinese and Vietnamese economic relationship today stands as one of the most important bilateral partnerships in all of the Asia-Pacific region. With both nations sailing on the ship of rapid economic development, they are significantly integrated in spheres ranging from trade to foreign investments. However, these ties are not devoid of knots. A plethora of issues underlies the bilateral relations between these two nations. It is imperative to remember that the intricate blend of collaboration and conflict characterizes the contemporary China-Vietnam relationship. They remain bonded by a shared cultural heritage and economic ties, yet their political disparities and territorial disagreements frequently test the strength of these bonds. As we examine their shared past, we find that their histories are deeply intertwined with a captivating tapestry of cultural exchange, economic collaboration, and territorial disputes spanning over millennia. The dawn of Chinese cultural, political, and economic influence in Vietnam dates back to the first millennium BC, where parts of northern Vietnam were integrated into the Han Chinese Empire. This millennium-long period left an indelible mark on Vietnam, shaping its language, culture, governance, and legal systems. The vestiges of this extensive Chinese dominion can be discerned even today, centuries after Vietnam secured independence from China in the 10th century. China and Vietnam's shared history and political ties significantly shape their robust economic relationship. Over the years, this partnership has experienced consistent growth, reaching an unprecedented bilateral trade volume of $175.6 billion in 2022. This development highlights China's essential role as Vietnam's primary international trading partner, a relationship extending beyond trade to encompass various economic spheres. The surge in Chinese investments in Vietnam over recent years is attributable to several factors. Vietnam's thriving middle class represents a promising market. Its strategic proximity to China and Southeast Asia boosts logistical and supply chain efficiency, and its favorable business environment offers competitive labor costs, a relatively stable political climate, and progressive economic policies. Substantial Chinese capital flows into sectors like manufacturing, real estate, and technology in Vietnam. This investment indirectly boosts the Vietnamese economy, creating a symbiotic relationship as both nations share and compete in similar industries, particularly textiles and electronics. Chinese competition puts Vietnamese companies under pressure to enhance productivity and competitiveness. As China's labor costs increase, companies often move production to Vietnam, leveraging lower labor costs and generating new job opportunities. This shift creates a mutually beneficial situation where Chinese companies reduce production costs and Vietnam sees employment growth. Furthermore, Vietnam plays a significant role in China's Belt and Road Initiative, or BRI, a grand strategy aiming to enhance China's global connectivity. Through BRI, China assists Vietnam in developing its transportation infrastructure, underlining Vietnam's critical role in China's global plans and underscoring the growing economic interdependence. However, this economic symbiosis presents its own challenges. Vietnam remains wary of over-reliance on China despite the strengthening ties. Chinese investments, while providing capital, technology, and jobs, raise concerns about quality and sustainability, especially concerning environmental and social impacts. Protests in Vietnam in 2014 and 2018, partially fueled by environmental issues linked to Chinese investments, highlight these concerns. Moreover, Vietnamese enterprises often face barriers when attempting to enter the Chinese market due to regulatory hurdles and non-tariff measures. Therefore, despite the strengthening economic bonds, China and Vietnam face substantial challenges requiring careful navigation and management. To provide a brief overview, China has emerged as a significant investor in Vietnam's economic landscape. As of the dawn of 2022, the Chinese investments in Vietnam collectively surpassed the $21.9 billion mark in US dollars. If we account for Hong Kong as well, the cumulative investment swells to over $50 billion, indicating the profound impact of Chinese economic influence in the region. China's involvement in Vietnam isn't a recent phenomenon either, but rather a long-standing relationship that spans years. Most notably, Vietnam has been an integral participant in China's ambitious Belt and Road Initiative. According to data compiled by the American Enterprise Institute, China has funneled over $9.25 billion into infrastructure projects within Vietnam. This substantial investment has indubitably played a pivotal role in propelling the country's economic development forward. The journey towards economic integration between Vietnam and China holds promise, but is not devoid of obstacles. In addition to fostering economic cooperation with China, Vietnam is actively seeking to balance its foreign relations by establishing economic and technical partnerships with the US and other global powers. This task involves delicately navigating complex territorial disputes in the South China Sea. The territorial disputes, particularly China's assertive expansion into the South China Sea, have caused tension not just with Vietnam, but with numerous Southeast Asian countries. The South China Sea's strategic importance as a major shipping lane rich in natural resources intensifies these conflicts. However, both Vietnam and China have exhibited commitment towards managing these disputes to avoid full-scale conflict. They have instigated high-level exchanges and dialogue mechanisms to address border and maritime disputes, signaling their commitment to peaceful resolution within the framework of international law. Despite China's escalating territorial claims, particularly concerning the disputed Paracel and Spratly Islands and the contentious Nine-Dash Line, Vietnam has adopted a resilient, strategic stance. It has enhanced its military capabilities, considered international law arbitration, and formed strategic alliances with countries such as the United States, Japan, and India to counterbalance China's influence. Meanwhile, Vietnam has exercised caution in advancing diplomatic relations with the United States amid the escalating US-China tensions, reflecting its delicate position. It is carefully balancing its economic cooperation with China against preserving its territorial integrity and sovereignty. Vietnam's strategy also includes deepening ties with other global powers and developing economic and technical partnerships. This multifaceted approach to foreign relations seeks to diversify Vietnam's diplomatic connections to ensure national interests are safeguarded. Thus, while tensions persist, Vietnam and China's dedication to managing their disputes through dialogue mechanisms exhibits their commitment to peaceful resolution and adherence to international law. Anticipating the future direction of China-Vietnam relations is a complex undertaking due to the intricate dynamics at play. Yet several key trends and potential developments are poised to shape their relationship in the future. Foremost, economic integration will undeniably influence their relationship's trajectory. As part of the ASEAN community, Vietnam's trade and investment ties with China continue to grow, making China its primary trading partner. The recently signed Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership (RCEP), which includes both countries, is likely to solidify these economic ties further. However, this could heighten Vietnam's dependency on China, thereby affecting its pursuit of an independent foreign policy. Secondly, the evolving South China Sea dispute is another considerable influence. While both nations have managed to prevent their territorial disputes from escalating into significant conflict so far, the potential for strife remains. The future handling of this issue, especially given China's growing assertiveness and the increasing involvement of the external powers like the United States, will crucially impact their relations. Thirdly, domestic political shifts in both countries could sway their bilateral relationship. In Vietnam, the balance between pro-China and pro-West factions within the Communist Party could influence Vietnam's foreign policy stance towards China. Similarly, in China, domestic factors such as nationalistic sentiments or prioritizing social stability could affect its approach towards Vietnam and the South China Sea dispute. Finally, the role of external powers is crucial. Vietnam's efforts to diversify its foreign relations and establish closer ties with nations like the United States, Japan, and India partially aim to counterbalance China's influence. The evolution of these relationships and China's responses could reshape the China-Vietnam dynamics. In conclusion, the future of China-Vietnam relations hinges on carefully navigating a labyrinth of cooperation and competition, shared interests, and mutual disputes. Both nations face the challenge of managing their differences while exploiting their shared interests. As the old Chinese proverb says, neighbors wish each other well, just as loved ones do. In the interconnected world of the 21st century, a peaceful and cooperative China-Vietnam relationship benefits not only both nations, but also the broader regional and global landscape. But anyway, do let us know what you think. Thanks for watching.